Imagine waking up in the country you were born in, raised in, paid taxes in, and realizing your government has decided you're no longer worth protecting. Or worse, that you're disposable. That your future, whether it's the business you built, the farm your family's run for generations, or the retirement you've spent decades preparing for, can be upended by the whims of a man on a podium with no accountability and even less restraint. This is not hyperbole, it's not a nightmare, it's America in 2025. When Donald Trump returned to the political stage, he did so not with a refined economic policy, but with a wrecking ball. In an attempt to restore American dominance, Trump imposed sweeping tariffs on hundreds of goods: steel, electronics, auto parts, agricultural imports, even toys. At first it seemed like more political posturing, but as the tariffs rolled out and exemptions shifted by the day, a chilling pattern emerged. There was no plan. What was presented as a nationalist strategy to bring jobs home has instead plunged American businesses into chaos. A manufacturer in Ohio reported losing $200,000 in one quarter alone due to delays and rising costs. "We don't know what to prepare for anymore," the company's CEO said. "One day we're told we're getting tariff relief. The next, our shipments are stuck in customs with a 45% markup." In rural Kansas, wheat farmers are seeing their foreign contracts disappear after retaliatory tariffs from China and the European Union. "No one wants to buy American grain when they can get it cheaper elsewhere without the political baggage," said one fourth-generation farmer. "We're being turned into a bargaining chip." This isn't a war on China, it's a war on stability, and the casualties are Americans who can't afford to play this kind of economic Russian roulette. The people being hit hardest are often the most vulnerable. For many older Americans who spent their lives working stable jobs and playing by the rules, Trump's economy is turning their golden years into a stress-ridden nightmare. Ruth, 68, a retired librarian from Michigan, saw nearly 20% of her retirement savings vanish within weeks as markets reacted to trade instability. "I was supposed to be planning my trip to visit my grandkids in Oregon," she said. "Now I'm researching part-time jobs instead." Then there's Thomas and Carla, a couple in their early 70s from Florida, who now fear they'll outlive their savings. "We downsized, we saved, we paid off our mortgage. But we didn't plan for this kind of financial whiplash every time the president decides to go off script." Inflation, driven partly by tariffs, is making everyday goods more expensive. Eggs, bread, basic medications, items people on fixed incomes rely on, are surging in price. And while Trump's economic advisors dismiss the impact as temporary, there's nothing temporary about a wiped-out pension or a canceled surgery because someone can't afford the copay anymore. And as if economic devastation weren't enough, Trump has begun floating a policy that reads like it was ripped from the pages of an Orwell novel, deporting American citizens. In a recent White House address, Trump stated, "There are a lot of people here born here, sure, but they don't love this country. Criminals, leftists. I'd like to include them in the group to get them out of the country." No official in his administration walked that statement back. No one clarified that U.S. citizens cannot legally be deported. Instead, Trump's allies doubled down, suggesting that perhaps certain kinds of citizenship should be reviewed. This is not just political theater, it's policy testing. Say something outrageous, wait for the media uproar, then implement it in a smaller, quieter way while everyone's distracted. It's a classic authoritarian tactic. And it's working. Already we've seen terrifying early signs. Rodrigo Abrego Garcia, a legal resident of the United States, was deported in direct defiance of a Supreme Court ruling. When asked about the illegality of that move, Trump shrugged it off and sarcastically said, "Let El Salvador's dictator decide." Translation: the rule of law no longer applies if it inconveniences the executive branch. Even more disturbing, a U.S.-born immigration attorney from Massachusetts received a letter from DHS ordering her to vacate the country immediately. When she called to clarify, She was told she had been flagged as hostile to national interests. Her only known offense? Representing immigrant families in court. And while many Americans still believe that would never happen to me, they might want to check their browser history. The Department of Homeland Security has recently begun scraping data from the IRS, supposedly to track undocumented immigrants. But legal experts say the sweep is far too broad and includes data from anyone who's ever sent money abroad, donated to certain charities, or traveled to high-risk countries, like India, Mexico, or even France. College students on visas are being monitored for social media posts that might be interpreted as subversive, with some receiving notices for posting pro-Palestinian memes or criticizing U.S. policy on TikTok. Visa cancellations and deportation orders have followed. If this is what they're doing to immigrants, one law professor warned, you better believe they'll do it to citizens next. In fact, they already are. In cities across the country, protesters have taken to the streets, not just to oppose Trump's economic agenda, but to raise alarms about civil liberties. But even those protests are being met with unprecedented government pushback. Reports have surfaced of peaceful demonstrators being arrested under new domestic threat guidelines pushed through by DHS. Protest organizers in Portland and Philadelphia have found themselves placed on no-fly lists or being audited by the IRS after leading rallies. One organizer, a teacher named Leah, described being followed home from work and receiving anonymous calls warning her to stop spreading lies. The administration denies involvement, but the message is clear. Dissent is no longer patriotic, it's punishable. What makes all of this possible? What enables one man's vendetta to become the federal government's marching orders is a slow, deliberate erosion of checks and balances. Trump has surrounded himself with loyalists, installed judges who favor executive overreach, and appointed cabinet members who refuse to challenge him. When Trump flirts with unconstitutional ideas, like ignoring court rulings or deporting citizens, it's not just a political stunt, it's a test of how much he can get away with. And so far the answer seems to be, quite a lot. The question now isn't, is this legal, but will anyone stop him? The danger we're facing isn't confined to any one demographic. You don't need to be an immigrant, a liberal, or a protester to feel the ground shifting beneath your feet. Maybe you're a conservative farmer losing your foreign contracts. Maybe you're a retired military officer watching your VA benefits evaporate under budget cuts. Maybe you're a middle-class parent trying to explain to your kid why their classmate's family disappeared last week. This isn't the America any of us signed up for. This is something darker, something more desperate. A country caught between fear and fury, where power is hoarded at the top, while the people at the bottom fight to survive the fallout. It's time to stop asking whether Trump means the things he says. He does, and he's acting on them, slowly, subtly, and sometimes brazenly, but always with the same intent: to build a nation where he is the exception to every rule. And that's not just dangerous, it's un-American. Thank you for watching.